Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, the channel where we are making a computer role-playing game using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. I have finished coding the casting of the remaining few spells in the game, and so in this video I would like to show you an example of testing the game, including taking every opportunity to test these new spells. So let's begin. I'm going to create a dwarf character because, as you might remember, I've set it up so that dwarves start with a dwarf's cloak, just as elves start with the ability to cast Fairy's Fortune. I've also set it up so you can see, I'll turn the sound off, so you can see I've got the dwarf's cloak there, and I've set it up so that every character, just for testing, I've set it up so that every character has the ability to cast the Terrible Word and Semblance of the Worm, which are the other two spells. That isn't true in the version that is uploaded to itch.io. If you made a dwarf character, you'd just start with Dwarf's Cloak, and you'd have to learn the other two in the normal way. I won't show you the code of how I programmed these, because it's honestly fairly straightforward. The main thing was just finding every page where it might be relevant to have the particular spell. Once you see the spell in action, it'll be obvious to you based on the things we've discussed previously in the series. So assuming that you've seen the other videos in the series, you should find it easy enough to work out how the coding was done. So so here we are in the beginning. Let's start traveling, I guess. So we might as well head north and then east. Okay. Maybe one more. Okay, I think. All right. Okay, so we've hit a settlement with creatures resembling the offspring of snails and horses. You can see that we have a new option when you first encounter a settlement, including when you first come back to a settlement, when it first sort of meets your eyes, but not after you've been interacting with them. You have the option to speak the Terrible Word, and there's not a lot of reason to do it in this situation, but I will do it just to demonstrate what it does. It's actually very straightforward. It you utter the Terrible Word, and all that lives here and all the living have built here cease to be. So it just simply destroys a single settlement, and you lose the equivalent of 2 6-sided dice worth of willpower. It's an enormous burden on you doing this. Perhaps that's the nature of the spell. Perhaps it's just the guilt of doing it. It's obviously it's an emergency type of thing. It's something you'd do perhaps if you were heading back to the entrance and didn't have any better way to get through. Okay, so it's starting to get a bit dark now. All right. Oh dear. Okay, I might have to start moving quickly if I want to get back in time, which of course doesn't really matter. But I'm acting as if I. Okay, now I'm not 100% sure. Ah, here we go. Okay, that's odd. All right, well, and so we leave. We'll give them 20 shells or something. Oh, great. All right, so let's do another run. I still haven't programmed multiple runs. That's probably one of the next things that I want to do. But let's make a dwarf character again, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to use the other two spells. Let's go quickly. Okay, so this is another example of an option to speak the terrible word. We stumbled into a settlement because we were moving quickly. And we've met some people, withered corpses from the waist up, mushrooms from the waist down, covered in coarse fur. And our size and our role was such that they don't run and they don't attack us either. So let's, we're not good at anything. All right, let's try being informal. Oh, and that works spectacularly well. Brilliant. All right. Normally I'd take advantage of that, but I won't because that's not what I'm trying to demonstrate. So I'll just keep going and see what happens. Okay, so we've got another settlement. This time, let's see what happens when we try to scare them away. Okay, they're not sure what to do. Let's do something that's going to not work. We'll do formal. Okay, so we've spent some time formally negotiating with these people, and they're not impressed. I meant that to happen. I knew that we have a low intelligence, so they usually get a pretty negative response trying to do that. But let's choose to fight. And okay, well, that's a possible. So what's happened here? This is a thing that I probably should add. What's happened here is semblance of the worm comes into play when you get into a fight. That's what this. You roll a die plus, or 20-sided die plus the average of intelligence and willpower. And I failed, and then if you fail, it goes straight on to just fighting. But looking at the way that works in play, I think what I should do is have a failure message. In other words, because people seeing this, it's not necessarily obvious what's happening. So I might have a little message that says that, the words to semblance of the worm don't come to your lips or something, some sort of message to let them know what that roll was for. All right, let's go quickly. We go back to the people who want to trade with us, but we don't want to because we're just testing. All right, so how much time we got left? Quite a lot. All right, so the one that I haven't demonstrated yet is actually Dwarven Cloak, and that's usually used when you're sneaking. So let's try this again. It won't really work. Yeah, I do think I'll add a failure message for that spell. But anyway, while we're here, let's loot the settlement. All right. Let's go up here and then come back, but slowly. Aha. Okay, so that's a very common error. I've just added those greater than signs, probably in place of or extra, like I've maybe added them twice or something like that. So I haven't stopped so far because although I've found two problems, they both look like they're going to be very easy to fix. They're going to be very quick, just a matter of getting into it. But all right, let's see what happens when we fight. All right, they flee from us in terror. Okay, so again, that actually was an attempt to cast Dwarven Cloak. What happens with Dwarven Cloak is when you're trying to sneak, as well as the normal roll, which is dexterity minus size, you also get a roll on the usual average of intelligence and wisdom. And again, playing it, it's not that obvious. You'll often find this, that something seems you just sort of don't notice how something's going to go when you're programming it, and then when you play it, you go, oh, okay, that there should really be a message there that says that your attempt to cast that has failed. So I'm going to say failure message. I'm going to make a note to myself to say failure message for Semblance of the Worm and Dwarf's Cloak. All right, so let's escape. Well, I might as well keep going for now. See if we can find anything. Okay, let's loot. Yay. All right. And perhaps we shall leave. All right, so we ended up with 60 cowrie shells, so let's give 5 of them to the beggars. Nope. For your stinginess, the beggars curse you to be racked with fits of wet coughing, which has lowered our charisma and also our constitution as well. And that's another issue, actually. I notice what I sort of, it's like a wound. We lose 3 constitution, but the maximum constitution doesn't change. And it seems to me that if you were racked with fits of wet coughing, it simulates that better if your maximum constitution came down. And then if you're perhaps your current constitution sort of went down to follow it if necessary. But so that's another thing I need to change. We'll say the curses should reduce maximum will and con. And the reason that I didn't do it like that was because when I programmed the curses, I didn't have a distinction between your current constitution and your maximum constitution. If you remember previous videos, we haven't had that slash with the 2 different scores. You just had a single score. So that will be why. And it never sort of occurred to me to go back and to interrogate the fact that there was a maximum and a current in the light of what these curses do, which of course is the point of testing. You will have these juxtapositions that won't necessarily occur to you. So I think that's given me enough to get on with. I've got 4 things to change, albeit they're all going to be pretty easy. I think you probably have a rough idea of how the spells work. I mean, it's a small set of spells, but at least they're all working now. And hopefully that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and hopefully you will tune in next time.